Welcome, welcome to another episode of the Boba Joe Show. Had a break last week due to the mad weather and crazy storms in Mark's homeland.
Yes, we had a weather-related incident here in Ireland. Thankfully, the house is still standing. We have power, and we are ready to resume our journey on the Boba Joe Show. So I do apologize, but we had no control over the weather events last week,
And your
unfortunately.
guile turned up.
Yeah, the Cobra weather machine was offline, and I just could not regain control of the situation. But I'm psyched. I am very happy to be back and really looking forward to today's topic. I want to mention as well, ladies and gentlemen, please spare a thought for Johnny. He is literally melting right in front of our eyes as this show
Yep,
records. He's in the
the
middle of
fighting
some
Wizard of Oz.
blazy heat. Yeah, he may as well be on the surface of the sun at the moment as far as we're concerned.
I think that's what's happening in the background here in this image. That's all that heat's coming from.
Yes, yes. So yeah, great movie posters. Looking forward to this one. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we might as well kick off into the first ones here, which is not that. That's just a nonsense image. First up, we've got some Mad Max ones, because when you suggested this topic a couple of weeks back, I can't always remember movie posters because sometimes I haven't seen them for a long time, or it might have been 20 years ago I've seen something in the cinema and that, and so sometimes I forget them unless I see them in a nice art book or whatever. But the first one that came to mind was Mad Max, because there's so many cool poster designs and variants and international ones. I just went, that's the number one thing I thought of to put in there, just because of the cool designs and other things that it's influenced in media. A lot of it, like sometimes you would get an American film that someone in Japan hasn't seen, but they've seen a poster in a magazine or an image, and just that image alone can influence another film or something else in a different country, even though they haven't actually seen the film or know what it's about. Just the style and artwork, it's a very common thing that can happen with international sort of posters and advertising and that.
I love I'm guessing it's like the Japanese variant here in the middle where they've darkened out the um the main character considerably, so it's almost
Yeah,
like a Terminator. It reminds me a
yeah, it
little
is.
bit of. Um, but we
And
spoke
they didn't.
before
Yeah,
when we talked about Mad Max 2, as I believe you mentioned when because we spoke about this. We spoke about the first film a little bit before we got talking about the second movie, and
yeah.
as you pointed out, I believe in this poster, Max never wears that particular outfit.
No,
Isn't that right? It's
it's the other
actually
guy.
Goose that wears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still though, looks amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So you can tell it's one of those early kind of concept things too, where you got stuff that's in the movie, but where they're still kind of figuring out the actual design of the character and who's playing what or doing what. It's a mishmash of kind of elements. It's cool. It's also in. I've got an image coming up here also. Fist of the North Star, the popular manga and anime series from '80s in Japan. Um, that specific look on that outfit with the leather and the shotgun was used for like Yagi. It was it's kind of like an evil doppelganger of the main hero in Fist of the North Star. At first, people think it's the same guy, but he's actually like an evil doppelganger. But he wears this fetish leather outfit and he has a sawn-off shotgun. Even in the video games, everyone else uses like fists and punches, but he actually fires the shotgun in the video games. It's evil. Okay, so we got some more different designs here from like Mad Max and Mad Max 2 and that, and they're really quite varied. I mean, like you got international, like Europe ones and Japanese ones, but they're very different. Like they're very different looking, even though they're all the same kind of idea. You get there's a guy, there's guns, there's cars, there's speed.
I love that once again the middle Asian language one because he's like holding that double barrel like it's a
Yeah,
pistol, Brilliant.
yeah. I've seen posters like it could almost be like Police Story of Jackie Chan or something, similar kind of design on that.
We got a little we got a little look at that Road Warrior poster when we covered Mad Max 2
Yeah.
last year.
That one's
I
awesome
love
because it's
that.
the artwork, but they've done it in like that kind of deep saturation with all those colors, like an overlay. It looks really cool.
As I think I mentioned at the time as well, I love how the refinery, which in the movie is kind of like a shitty little like fucking outpost in the middle of the desert, but I love the way on the poster it actually looks like this great city that we want to, you know, get to.
Actually, that's what you get in that the video game that was tied into Fury Road, but officially it's not Fury Road because it was legally became a distinct entity from it and actually used a lot of the pre-production stuff from George Miller. Basically went to the video game company that made that Mad Max game, but there was some kind of weird legal battle where they weren't allowed to call it Fury Road, but they got all these assets basically were given to this company, some of which they weren't really supposed to have for the movie. But in that game, you do get a massive refinery, even bigger than that at the end of the game. It's like a proper whole kind of miniature city in that, and it's a big massive refinery. So it kind of calls back to this like image here.
That's awesome. I never actually played that game. It looked really cool.
I finished it last year. It's bloody long. It takes about 30 hours to finish it. It was 30 hours too long. It was like 10 good hours of gameplay, and the rest of it you're just repeating on a loop. But yeah, it was, awesome game though, awesome mechanics. But yeah, I love these poster designs, and I love the truck just like hurtling towards us. We're seeing the that black in the headlights, and then it's got that tinted red windows, which obviously they're not into the movie. It's a stylistic thing, and it's almost like horror kind of elements, like Christine. But it also reminds me of a certain other truck you and I both know, which is Black Convoy, also known as Scourge from Robots in Disguise.
Always very confusing, the name Scourge. I was like, that's not Scourge, but it is.
Proper name is Black Convoy because it was an anime, and then when they made it into English, they just changed all the names of the characters. Basically for copyrights. You know how they always reuse shit for the toys? They call like the build team, they called one of them Grimlock and something else. Just use the trademarks for the toys.
But that this picture depresses me slightly seeing that original toy because I have the...
That's my one. That's my actual one that's in this room.
I have the newer one. I think it's from like Legacy.
Yeah, I bought the Laser Prime version, and he's real kind of under impressive.
Yeah, no chrome. That's my main problem.
Yeah,
I want that
chrome.
Shiny chrome tank on the back.
I got the Fans Hobby one too, but I don't have the trailer for that. But that's, you know, like massive masterpiece size. But yeah, also we get
we need to do Fist of the North Star someday. We really need to.
Yeah, we're gonna have a look. It's quite long. There's all the anime and like I've got all the manga series I've been reprinting in English. But you can see here like these two elements. Like if you go back, that image on the right, you've got this Black Convoy truck, and then these muscle men in leather, and then look what you got here, the muscle men leather. So you can see the stylistic influences. Even the way they're posed for this like poster cover here is very, very Mad Max. And if you look on the bottom right, you can see that Yagi character I mentioned with the leather in the helmet that's taken from that old goose-like poster element.
Awesome. Yeah, I love me some Fist of the North Star.
And then we got the modern ones, Fury Road.
I will actually say this straight off the bat. The first two examples in particular we have here for Fury Road, I don't want to be going on as I often do. I know when we talk about movies themselves, I'm always like, oh well, modern movies are CGI and it's bad. But I don't
like them as much as the other posters.
Yeah, I actually do like these Fury Road posters because they actually have put some effort into not just doing that modern movie poster thing where they either just show you words against the background or nothing, or just like, you know, a picture of the actor's face. So at least they've actually done something here with the Fury Road posters. I can appreciate that.
The middle one of him with the cars, but low res, but that's from a wider shot, and they've cropped it into that, and it looks cool, and it's a nice, like it's photographed nicely, but really it's just going back to Mad Max 2. It's just literally that scene, the opening of Mad Max 2, and him overlooking the cliff. So it's getting by nostalgia rather than actually doing anything new with that image. and some more variants here. Like we got original number 2 again. Like on the right here, we got the faces again. Lord Humongous in the background looks really cool. And that one I pinched off eBay, so it's signed by Wes, who's one of the Aussie Aussie actors, I believe, is the Mohawk dude.
Yes.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
Yeah.
Exactly what was on the tip of my
And then we've got
tongue.
this cool one on the left, which is another like kind of modern hybrid one where you get all these variant posters and like kind of like for poster books or just different kind of like Etsy and shit. There's all kinds of variant modern ones. That one's pretty cool too. It's just got all the cars and the faces and stuff and the lightning. And that's very much like that video game too, the way it's like composed and the color palette and that.
Love that middle one as well. Love the tagline, when the gangs take over the highway, remember, he's on your side.
Yeah. Pretty cool. But yeah, there's a heap of different designs. They're all, like, none of them are bad. They're all interesting. I've got some cool stuff going on. A couple more here. Furiosa. And then Mad Max 2. This is the proper full image of that other one that was kind of shrunk down and cropped. Where the other one had all the kind of like the color bleed over it. This is like the original color art. And it's very much like the old fantasy Boris and Julie artwork of the 70s and 80s, all the kind of Conan art, the rippling muscles and swords and weapons and all that.
Love the metallic, that kind of Transformers font they have for the
Mad Max
looks
2
awesome. Logo as well.
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite one, actually, that one. Because that's the same kind of shiny, like the old WWF logo, where it was all kind of shiny and metallic looking and all those ones. And then they started doing really shitty logos in the 90s and 2000s for just about everything.
Yeah, it feels like at some point, I don't know whether it's a marketing decision. I guess it has to be a marketing decision, but it just feels like I often do walk past the local cinema or one of the local cinemas where I live, and I will, give a cursory glance to the wall and look at the posters. The posters never really catch my eye these days the same way they would have, 20 years ago.
I did the same last week. Walked past the cinema, looked at the posters at the front. And...
Like a recent decent example, I thought, was the Alien Romulus poster. It was just an all red background with the face hugger attaching itself to a person's face. At least it was a striking image. It wasn't just, here's the 5 main actors and they're just standing there beside the title of the film or whatever.
Like that Furiosa, I finally watched it
pretty cool.
home a few months back, and the movie was okay. Like it's definitely the lesser of the Mad Max film. It's still a decent film, and it carries on from the Fury Road world, and it's in that same setting, same world, and same visual style. But I didn't know before I watched it that Charlize Theron wasn't in the film. I thought originally she was cast to be the character. As far as I know, at some point it changed, I guess. And I didn't know till I watched it. And I'm watching and going, is she going to be in the bloody film at some point? Like, no. So I was a bit annoyed because I was really looking forward to seeing her in the film. No disrespect to any of the cast who are in the film, who all do good jobs. But it didn't feel to be on the same quality as Fury Road. Fury Road, because, it took 20 years to make that film, whereas this one is just a few years later. But they had all the same production and costumes, and all that stuff was top notch, and all the stunts, all the same elements. But it's like if you're playing like a video game, and here's the game and here's the sequel. We've used all the same basic assets, is what I'm saying. But the story didn't feel that interesting. I felt like I like the Furiosa character, and when you don't know too much about them, the character was more interesting. Just like Man with No Name with Clint Eastwood and any other version, Kenshiro and Fist of the North Star. When you know too much about these mysterious characters, it kind of breaks the character a bit. So I didn't, on that element, I thought the film didn't work so well. But it's still very entertaining to watch, and I'll still gladly pick up the Blu-ray sometime this year before they shut down the damn factories for good.
Yeah. The macho madness here.
Yeah. So just behind the macho madness is another mad macho man is the from the Fury Road. It was just a fold out poster from a magazine, it's just freebie, and I just folded it over the thing that's sitting under my monitor on the computer desk to cover it up so it doesn't look like a plain surface on there. And just because I had nowhere to put it on the wall anyway, it was only a crappy little foldy poster. But yeah, it's worked out all right. That's where it lives.
Yeah. Make use of that. Recycle.
And on to some James Bond. And this was my other number 2, or probably equal number 1 with Mad Max. When I think of movie posters, I think Mad Max and Bond just for being striking elements, memorable characters, and some of the themes there. You got manly men and ladies and action and guns and vehicles and all that stuff. Gadgets, of course.
Bond posters. Oh, where do you even start? Because
and the big giant 300-page book that my missus gave me that was hardcover, but I couldn't find the damn thing.
I know I have.
It's like every version
have,
of every international poster.
What do I have here? I have 70s. I have 90s. Do I have? Yeah, I have a 60s one. Yeah, there's From Russia with Love on the cover of
Nice.
that one there. I have, but
yeah, that's one of my favorite
posters are unbelievable.
images.
Yeah, I love them, man. I absolutely like. Even up until about GoldenEye, they were still doing really good Bond posters.
Yeah.
So like right up till the 90s, they were still very unique and eye-catching.
Yeah, the later you get into the 90s is when some of the design elements just kind of went to shit. They got away from the classic looks and everything was getting too modern looking and just, generic and boring. But these are classics. These are all like proper works of art, and then they've composed them with other elements to get a poster out of it. And
Diamonds Are Forever one is classic. They're all classic, but I love that one in particular. But yeah, so iconic, and yeah, it would be tough for me to. I really like. I know these are the Sean Connery ones, but even Moonraker with Roger Moore, it has a great poster as well. Lots of them, they all have just fantastic posters.
Yeah,
like I said, up until about GoldenEye.
Is it one of Roger Moore or Lazenby where he's got him on the skis? He's like skiing down the mountain on the
yes. Yeah, I think that's the Lazenby one with the skis. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Yeah, that's a really good poster as well. The very last image at the bottom here of just Sean Connery as James Bond. Is that
he was on a lot of advertisements back then too, like posters and whiskey ads and.
Yeah, these are phenomenal, and I know we'll get to it in a little while when we get up as far as some of the more Western style ones. But there's just something about these like art spreads where you've got like just this collage of so much brilliant imagery from the story, and it's just all there on the poster. It's just beautiful. It just all comes together. It's just so great. I love these old Bond posters. I absolutely love them.
Yeah, there's so many of them like choose from, and there's like if you want to have like a full print or put something on the wall, that you're just spoiled for choice. You've got dozens and dozens of like great designs, and then you've got variant international designs for Europe and around the world and that, and most of them are pretty good too, that rework the elements and still look great. So next up we got the Deer Hunter.
Yes. Now three very different looking posters here. Now my favorite is the kind of the first one here, where you just see that image of De Niro holding the pew pew to his forehead. He's about to play a game of Russian roulette. But I always loved this. I'm pretty sure I used to have a T-shirt of that exact image as well. It was pretty badass shirt, and I did have
sorry,
this poster
Sean,
on my wall. But yeah, no, I absolutely love the film, and of course we've covered it before on the Boba Joe show. We did a deep dive into the Deer Hunter. This middle poster with the kind of yellow surrounding is very cool because it actually shows elements from Vietnam mixed in with the other imagery. Like we can see the helicopters and stuff and that. Like that's really cool, and the sun shining right through the center of the poster and the antlers of the deer. Like that's actually a really
I'd like to see that artwork blown up,
out.
like see the full version of that. Would be nice.
And this looks like it was probably, I would say, maybe like a year after the full theater release, because it has the you know, the winner of 5 Academy Awards and all of that stuff on the cover. So this I do apologize, by the way, to anybody who knows the exact languages that these posters are in. I'm going to keep saying Japanese because I don't know if it is Japanese or not. It could be Chinese. It could be, I don't know what the fuck it is, to
Yeah,
be
it
honest with
could
you.
be any number of ones that use the symbol pictogram languages.
It is a very, once again though, a very cool poster, and I'm guessing this. We see like a little logo. It looks like to be an Oscar. I'm assuming that's the Japanese telling their audience, "Oh, look, this has been
Yeah,
like, you know, winner of all these Academy Awards and whatnot." But I like posters, and it's kind of a bit like the Mad Max ones we were looking at and the James Bond ones we were just looking at as well, where a well thought out poster will get like so many elements from the movie into the spread, and you just get like this. It's almost like a story unto itself when you're looking at some of these posters.
yeah. And
The amount
it
of
was
imagery.
cool sometimes. Like you'd see posters at the cinema, like coming attractions, or at the old VHS rental store. And sometimes you see a poster. You might see a poster for weeks or months before you see the film and not know almost nothing about it. And because it wasn't the world of the internet and going online and watching a trailer on YouTube or whatever, you might, if you didn't see Entertainment Tonight or something, you might not know a bloody thing about it. So it was cool seeing a little teaser poster and getting you interested, and you kind of making up a story in your own mind. I'm like, well, who are these characters and what's going on?
Here's an iconic poster right here. Could this possibly be my favorite movie poster of all time? Good chance that it is. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And it's so simple and terrifying. I do have
Is
a
this why I'm
phobia of
terrified
sharks,
every
by the
time I
way.
go for a swim?
Yeah, you see, something like this is like, if I lived where you lived, I couldn't do what you do, in the sense like I'm so
Yeah,
terrified even just of the idea of a shark. I'd never go fucking swimming in the sea. It would just like freak me out. You know, I couldn't do it. And I know obviously your average great white shark, or just your average shark in general, isn't like the 25-foot menace the shark is in Jaws, but and even the shark in the poster is like megalodon proportions big. Like it is
yeah, yes.
really, really big.
Oh,
I
Bruce.
used to stare at this. I used to stare at this as a kid and just like lose myself looking into the dark maw of the shark's mouth and like noticing all the layers of teeth. It's the teeth in particular that are just terrifying when you actually look and see them. Just, you know, the rows of them.
Yeah, big giant razor sharps. Each one as big as a bloody like Bowie knife.
Yeah, and I think it was a wise move to exaggerate the size of the shark for the poster. Like I do know the shark in the movie is very big, but it's still not as big as what's depicted here in the theatrical poster. But still, I absolutely love, like, I had this Jaws poster and another poster we'll be coming to in a little while, which is the Batman poster. Those two posters actually didn't sit. They were hung on my ceiling for years in my bedroom. I used to wake up in the morning and just look at them. But yeah, that Jaws poster, man, it really is something else. And even the lesser quality Jaws sequels actually got good
Jaws
posters as
3D.
well. Jaws 3D and Jaws
What's the
2
one
got a
in
really good one.
What's the one in Back to the Future 2? It's like Jaws 20 or Jaws 6 or
Yeah,
something with a big
still
hologram
not
comes out
seen.
of them. I love that.
And Jaws 2 had a really good tagline. It was like, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the
Yeah.
water, which I always thought was a really good
Just when
tagline.
you thought it was safe, Friday night after school, midnight, Piranha on 3D TV.
Oh, yeah.
Stayed up
Stick
watching that one.
Piranha down on the list as well.
Yeah.
I love that old Piranha
I,
movie.
th- I think I would find them even more terrifying because there's so damn many of them. Whereas one
Yes.
shot, you got if there's other people, you're like, well, I'm here. Those people in the deeper water, they're fucked. But I've got a chance. I'm going to get back on the land. But if there's piranha, they're like, will just swarm around you. Just be stuffed. Okay, so this one is a Vincent Price movie. adapted from the same story as I Am Legend or the Omega Man, The Last Man on Earth, from a short story. I forget the name of which. I forget. I'm not sure if I Am Legend is the original name or not, but it's a short story.
I Am Legend
it's about
is, yeah.
30 pages by Richard Matheson. That's him.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
But this one I actually have as a T-shirt, and it's the one on the left there. It's the full. It's not changed or anything except for, I don't know if it has that writing on the bottom. Is it in there? I did actually have it in there the other day, but I've moved it again. But anyway, it's got all that bit at the top and the on the left in the blue where it says, "Dare you imagine what it'd be like to be the last man or Earth or the last." All that's on the T-shirt. It looks really cool. Sometimes I get lost and I start reading it instead of getting ready to go to work or whatever.
So good. And I'm just going to put it out there now. There's been, well, I've seen The Last Man on Earth, I've seen the Omega Man, and I've seen I Am Legend, the Will Smith one. The Last Man on Earth, I feel, is actually the best adaptation of that story.
Yeah, it's definitely
easily.
the best adaptation. But all three of them are a bit shonky as being off from the actual story, and all of them change elements kind of needlessly. But this one's the closest in tone and to the story.
Yeah, Vincent Price, I think, was very well cast. For that role. Yeah, they all differ from the main book slightly. I suppose someone who's read the I Am Legend short story, the vampires as they're depicted in the book, they're a lot more grotesque and almost zombie like. Even though they can talk, they're still like, they're a force to be reckoned with when you encounter them en masse. But like, one-on-one, you can deal with them fairly easily. In this Vincent Price version, the Last Man on Earth, would you agree they're nearly more that kind of classic vampire, like actual, big screen vampire, like, theatrical almost. But I love it.
I didn't know.
I absolutely love it.
I didn't know until I watched the Omega Man a good number of years ago. On one of the early Simpsons Halloween specials, they have like Sideshow Raheem is straight up the character from the Omega Man, the guy with all the big afro and that, and then this like. And when Homer's like, "Die, you chalk-faced goons," and it's like Edgar Winter or something like the band, and he runs them over and it's like, "We weren't zombies," like and the way they go on about the flesh eating and all that was like from the Omega Man, like the pasty faces and all that.
Yeah, but posters specifically though, The Last Man on Earth, really class looking poster, looks really good.
I love the good design of a silhouette too. Like makes me think of like a Neil Adams 70s Batman cover or something. It's a big head and then the silhouette of stuff inside it and all that.
And not only, in my opinion, is it the best adaptation of the book, it's probably the best poster of the three movies as well. I think it's a nicer poster than the Omega Man, and it's a nicer poster than that Will Smith I Am Legend of him just like walking down the street or whatever. I love the
they weren't afraid to put text on the poster back then.
Yeah, oh yeah, they really went like look at how well drawn that house is, and even like the trees and everything outside. Like it creates atmosphere. It makes you interested.
And it's the same image in both, just changed like the color temperature and moved around, but it's very different looking in each image.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm actually in the mood now to go and watch that. I haven't watched it in years.
Yeah, well, definitely. Old Vincent Price will be back in October this year. Vincent do some Halloween themed stuff later this year, and definitely some Vincent Price movies will be popping up. So next up, we got some Rocky. Yo, Adrian. Hey, yo.
Hey, yo, Adrian. Hey, yo, those turtles in the first movie are still alive in Rocky Balboa. Did you know they're the same turtles?
I love it when he gets slightly annoyed. I forget it's the first one or the second one, but where he goes, I was watching the Razor Ramon doco thing on the other night, and he said he got the "Hey yo." He said he got that from Stallone from Rocky.
You know, I've never been to Philadelphia, but for some reason, I imagine if you go to that location, there's just tons of tourists running up those steps or attempting to run up those steps. At least
they
may not make it. Yeah,
it's very popular because of that.
I might get a quarter of the way up and then just collapse,
Yeah.
grabbing my chest. Yeah, I love the how the Rocky Balboa poster pays tribute to that original Rocky poster. Like
Yeah.
it's really well done.
Rocky
But like
5.
it's one of
What's
those
Rocky
movies.
2?
It's
Rocky
like
7. Rocky's Revenge,
yeah.
whatever it is.
Well, I funny. I was just about to say like it's a little bit like the James Bonds. The Rocky posters. They maintain a pretty high standard as well. Like another
Mm.
favorite one I like is a Rocky 4 where he's kind of wrapped in the American flag and he's
Yeah. Yeah.
he's kind of posing or whatever. Like they really capture the atmosphere. But I think what I like about this original Rocky poster is just that it's like plain black and white. It's almost like an old boxing advertisement in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
like you'd see in a newspaper. Like it's cool. It just looks really cool.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'd
such a
imagine
great
if you're
iconic image, and it's tied in the thought, like if you always watch the film, it's tied in with the emotion of the feeling and that right from nothing rising up and all that. You know, it's very powerful sort of image.
no doubt if you were a Philly local back in the day when you saw that poster, it's like, hey, I know where this is going to be set. But yeah, it's so good, iconic, and the black and white, it stands out in itself. You know, for that reason alone, that it is black and white and kind of looks like that old timey promotion.
Yeah, I want to get this. I was going to get last year one of these from down at the shops. They had one already mounted in frame glass and all that. I went to buy it, but unfortunately, it was part of the display stand. I thought, no worries, I'll just pull it off and take it. It's the last bloody one of it. It was welded to a metal frame, so you couldn't remove it, and it was elevated about 6 feet in the air, and all the other stuff sat below it to catch your attention from across the shop. And I looked at the back of it. I said, "Okay, can we take it apart?" No, it would destroy it and actually break the whole thing to take it apart. So I was a bit annoyed because the shop had them for a couple of years, and had I known, I could have gone to get any time. Now I got to source my own one, and I mean, you can get a print on this easy enough on eBay from a decent seller, a proper poster print, not some bootleg piece of shit. And then I'll have to go and get it framed. But I've got a spot I want to put it, not in this room, but on the other side of the wall, basically, as you walk into the house. And I've got permission from my missus to put it up there. She also likes Rocky, so I've got that. And I've got my Steve Austin poster that I found that someone chucked out that's like mounted on a hard board. I'm going to put that one in the middle, and then I've got a turtle thing I'm going to put across it from that.
Nice. Oh, the Rocky poster, you know, it's classy. You know, it doesn't look out of place
Yeah,
in a living room, in a kitchen setting, in a hallway.
yeah.
It's not like an obnoxious poster that, you know, I think it would look nice in your home.
But I know a mate who's a bit older than me. He loves films, and he's old enough. He saw Taxi Driver in the cinema in the 70s, like he's about 60 or so. And
Wow.
he's got in one of his rooms, he's got a smaller poster of Gone with the Wind. And I've said to him, I said, it's a real nice poster, but it's not the best bloody movie. Poster's probably better than the movie.
Good old JP.
Yeah, a bit of Jurassic snark.
I'm sure we've probably glimpsed at some of these before because we did do a pretty comprehensive Jurassic / dinosaur
Yeah.
deep dive last year, which I'll also plug while I'm here. But yeah, for me, it's this first image of the logo.
They had the
It's
yellow
like
and the red version everywhere at the same time. But they use both a lot.
yes, yeah, it's so simple and yet so effective, and it's a little bit like we're going to see the '89 Batman one later on, but like it's that type of like there is no real artistic depiction going on here. It's literally just the logo, the park logo, and you have your little tagline: an adventure
It's a bit of
65 million years
a
in
bit
the
of a
making.
meme, or like the old superhero emblems on the chest, Batman, Superman, Flash. It's got that iconic look to it, and it gets into your mind, you know, like you see it like teaser poster around, like, well, what's this about?
Yeah, and for me, I actually It's funny you mentioned that with like the superhero logos, because for me that Jurassic Park logo has now kind of become just one of those. I could easily have like a sticker, a badge. You know, I could see that among
Mm.
all the
I
popular
had a heap of
brand
badges
logos.
actually when the movie was out. I bought.
And you know, they will make their variations of it, like we see here. Obviously, the obvious one with Jurassic Park 3, they're still sticking to the formula. They're not deviating really from where they were at. Whereas I'd
Yeah, I
imagine
like the
this
little
last
claw
example we
marks with the
have,
3 is cool.
yeah, yeah. And I actually like that they've, for this one in particular, they've kept it where they've just changed the coloring and the skeleton is still the same. Though I'm pretty sure when I went to see it in the cinema, they had replaced the T-Rex and the logo with that Spinosaurus. They'd kind of
Yeah,
altered
there
the
were versions
skeleton
of the
to look like the
Spinosaurus.
but I'm glad they kind of retconned it back to the T-Rex imagery. I do like this kind of modern. I'm guessing this is like a,
Yeah, it's one of those
you know, a
modern
special
ones,
edition,
like a Mondo
probably
sort of
for like
looking
a,
poster.
yeah. It looks awesome though. It looks awesome, and I do like when we get a someone else taking a stab at doing something for these older
Yeah,
films.
because they're doing it to make it as a poster for fans who want to buy it, as opposed to having to do it for the cinema lobby or it's been made just as a poster. It wasn't made to advertise anything else other than to be a collectible, basically. So you do get people doing really cool designs and that.
I think that this one we're right at the beginning here with Grant
Yeah,
holding the flare and the Rex coming towards him. If the movie had came out in the 70s or 80s, that would have been the poster
yeah.
probably.
Well, the T-Rex has more of that old Harryhausen kind of look to it. There, it definitely looks more old school than what we see in the movie.
I actually really like this image to the point where did you actually get this image? Is this something you
I
can
just
like
found it somewhere on
buy?
Google Images. But I think it's another one made from the 90s because it has all the stuff down the bottom there, a little small print and that, which usually wouldn't be there for just a commemorative one.
Yeah, it's really nice. I actually would not mind getting my hands on that at all for a decent size print. We
Cool.
were also mentioning before we began recording today's show this magazine in the middle. I think we're both somewhat
Yeah,
familiar with it. We had a variation
yeah.
of
It
it
was
in our
about
each of our
$5 at the
countries.
newsagent back, and it was just all fold-out posters. It was. It says magazine, but like really they're trying to sell you this double-sided poster, which are just like the T-Rex and Triceratops, and I had that on the wall for several years and flipped it over. Eventually, it fell apart.
Yeah, that's
And it was
really is a
quite
thing
big
of the
too. It was
past
quite
now.
a large poster that folded out.
Do poster magazines still exist? They were quite
No,
common
they don't. They're gone.
growing up.
They're gone with the dogs and gone with the dinosaurs.
Like even not just for movies, but you know, bands and stuff would often,
Yeah,
you know, there'd be
Smash
all
Hits,
sorts of
big
poster
one here.
magazines. Yeah, it really is something
Well,
that's
my
been
missus
lost to some
collects
time.
old magazines and clippings of Kylie from the 80s and 90s, and occasionally she runs across a flyer for like an ad for a Ninja Turtles or a poster, and she actually found a turtle one I used to have on the wall as a kid recently, and it's from the exact same print of the same magazine from like '89, and it was in like perfect condition. So I'm going to keep it and try and actually get it like at least laminate it or put it in a cheap frame or something.
Cool at the bottom of that magazine cover as well. It's got all
Yeah.
the little logos for the various parts of
Yeah,
the
I
islands.
had some of those on the badges I used to have. I had those badges until about last year. I just gave them away to another collector, someone just on Facebook who like Jurassic Park. I don't know them, but I said I'm getting rid of these. I didn't even sell them. I just said basically postage price at about 10 or 12 badges or whatever.
And of course, we get the classic logo again, except this time
Yeah.
in its yellow background.
Yeah.
Do you
I
have
had
a
a pencil case
preference?
in school with that on it. That's the yellow one.
Which do you prefer, red or yellow for the logo
I
background?
think back then I mainly associated it with the yellow one just because that was on so much merchandise and that's one I kind of think of first. Even though I think the red one was kind of more primarily the movie, and it seems like the yellow was more the merchant. I mean, they use both interchangeably, but and I don't know which one. And you get reprints of the novel with the logo as well.
Yeah, and even within the movie itself, you see both because
Yes.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
on
Forget. Of
the
course, it's another symbol that's actually it's so commercial because we see it on the poster, but it's actually a part of the world and the fiction itself because it's all in the park everywhere in the merchandise, just like you went to bloody Disney World or something, seeing Mickey Mouse ears and shit.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's the green, like I think it's the Jungle Explorer Jeep. It has like the red logo on it, but then
Yes.
their other Jeeps have like the yellow one. I probably get that mixed up, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You see both colors. There we go. There we go. Exactly. The Jeep Wrangler.
So
We'll have to open my one of those Jada diecasts. Cool little line, definitely.
yeah, there's
Yeah,
got a few of those
iconic.
vehicles now. Got a Scooby-Doo one I picked up a couple of weeks ago. So next up we got Platoon.
Soon. Another. I had a lot of posters hanging on my wall, obviously as a kid, because I
Yeah,
had this one for a good while
I
as
had them.
well.
I
It
used to
was
have them everywhere. Like before I had loads of toys and crap. I mean, lived in different places. Every place I've ever lived, I've had like wall-to-wall posters. And I used to have so many, I'd just be like giving stuff away because I always had too many.
so fun fact. Before I saw the poster before I watched the movie, and I didn't actually I didn't really cop the fact that Elias is actually being killed. It wasn't until I
Yeah,
watched the movie that it's like, oh, he's being shot in the back or whatever. But in the poster, I kind of thought he was almost like, the fire's coming down from behind him, and he's
yeah.
almost like kind of just doing like, I didn't think he was actually getting
It's doing
shot in
that.
the back.
It's doing that pose where the camera pulls out and they go Mendoza.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I thought it was something like along those lines that
Yeah,
was going on. But in the movie itself, of course, we see he gets gunned down by the Viet Cong, and he kind of throws his arms up in the air just as he's about to fall to the ground. But it's just it's a really iconic image that they captured here in the poster, because you've got all the napalm going off in the
yeah.
background, and you can still see like there's like Viet Cong running around
It's
and the
like the
whole
most
jungle's
Vietnam
beginning.
movie image ever.
Oh, big time, big time. Like if you were to compare it, say, to like that Deer Hunter poster we looked at earlier, like if you were to look at the Deer Hunter poster, you may not have a clue it's got anything to do with
Yeah,
Vietnam.
yeah.
Whereas when you look at the Platoon poster, it's like all you can think of is Vietnam. It's like right in your face.
I watched all the
And
first season of Call of Duty, the TV, the '80s TV show, last couple of months. Bloody good show. Second season not so good, but first season is absolutely brilliant all the way through. And when you get to see the more day to day of what's going on in life of the soldier and how they operate and what they do, and then the conflicts and patrols, helicopter pilots and downtime and all that, you get to kind of break down a lot of the stuff that's going on more than just a single film. And it's crazy seeing like all these guys are out in the jungle, out of the element, used to being in cities and all that. And but then like one of the guys gets shot and we're flying a helicopter in and getting this guy up. Meanwhile, nobody on the opposing side has bloody hell of a lot as far as their arms and helicopters and bloody napalm strikes. So you got this crazy technologically superior force coming in to just absolutely getting their ass kicked by the locals that know the region and know how to live there and have built tunnels and use guerrilla warfare. But it's just amazing to watch that show and this movie also to see the real kind of gritty realism of it, where it's not trying to play up like the old, World War II era films are very jingoistic. I love war films of any era. Good film's a good film. But, this was definitely your post, what do you call it, like neo-war movie, like we had neo-westerns and post anti-war film, you would say.
yeah, and it's like I mentioned earlier, we've hit the Deer Hunter already. Maybe at some point we'll do a bit of a look into. You might have even mentioned it, possibly
Yeah,
even off air, war movies in general.
yeah,
But
yeah,
of
for
course,
sure.
within war movies, though, you've got your different genres even within that. Like we could do World War
Yeah,
II, we could do
you got like
Vietnam, we could
heist
go into
movies and
yeah. So it could definitely be something for us to look at. I love this tagline here that we see in the second poster: "The first casualty of war is innocence." That's a great tagline. The second poster reminds me a little bit of the Full Metal Jacket poster as well, with the helmet.
Yeah, it does.
And you can see the peace sign as well.
But I like the way the helmet, they've got the cards and the stuff on there. And it's another thing, again, from real life where people would do all sorts of things to kind of decorate and put stuff on their helmet, which is not really the best thing if you don't want to stand out as a target, but people did it, so whatever.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie, I have to say. Probably, I do love Oliver Stone movies, but Platoon is quite possibly my favorite Oliver Stone movie.
Charlie
real
Sheen before the house with the men and the drugs, or the other house with all the mysterious ladies at night and all that sort of business. Back when he was known for actually doing good films.
Yes, yeah, and cared about what he was doing and took care of
Tom
himself.
Berenger, before he made a million direct market films.
Yeah, before he made
Sniper
all those
25.
sniper, yeah.
Well, this is where he learned the sniper skills, I guess.
It's so good. And of course,
but yeah, Willem Dafoe, like, always good. He's great in pretty much everything.
Oh, fantastic. And Oliver Stone, he's no stranger to the old Vietnam. He's done, obviously, you do Born on the 4th of July as well, which also features Tom Berenger briefly in that movie too. So
yeah, he's got real balls, Oliver Stone. Like, I like that he makes good stories, and they're very real stories. Like, I'm not saying they're literally true, but they're based around real events, and the things he put in them are very relatable to, like, what happens to the people, and they're usually not fun things happening. Usually very tragic and sad, but they're relating to real life events. So I think it's excellent writer, excellent director.
Fantastic, yeah.
So next up, we got Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which didn't it in the last couple of years they released some director's cut or something?
They did. So if you want to endure even more of that, now don't get me wrong, I do like the movie, but it's quite long as it is. So the director's cut,
Autumn, was that the subtitle?
Yeah, if you want a sore arse, watch the director's cut.
Yeah. But, if you want to see the worst uniforms of any Star Trek fiction, basically ever.
But yeah, look, I know we're making fun, we are, but we can't deny the poster quality here. I love this pop of color for the main kind of
I'd happily have that
theatrical
one on the
release.
Beautiful.
And you mentioned as well, just before we started recording, our middle example is actually the resolution is actually what the poster would look like in its full length. So that would be really cool, like hanging on a door. That would look awesome.
Be good to, like, in between, if you had like a narrow hall passage in between, but when nothing else fits, to have this big vertical one would be cool.
I just really like it's so simple, and it's brightly colored. You've kind of got the almost beaming transporter effect with the three faces then shown. Of course, you got Shatner, Nimoy, and that lady who's only in
Rainbow
this movie.
Bridge.
She gets, the lady who gets taken over by V'ger and V'ger, not Voyager, V'ger. But
Castiello's in the first one, isn't she?
She's in the second one.
Second one. I always get confused who's which one.
I do like this first image that we have where it actually shows the Enterprise and we have the pictures of the cast. That's a really cool poster. And it looks to me like...
The cast, they're actually miniatures. That's not the real cast there.
Do you reckon this one is more like... It seems to me like it's like a Paramount preview, like it's almost like a pre-theatrical release by the looks.
I think so. Like, I don't remember exactly where, but I do remember seeing that actual one in magazines. But I would have been picking up like a secondhand magazine in the 90s. But it was back from then. Like, it was showing a trade. The same way you get a comic might just show a generic image for, like, I don't know, Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight or something like that. It was definitely used as like a trade ad, but I don't know what it was originally used for. If they showed it in the cinema lobby as like coming attractions or what, I have no idea. Sounds like a Goji-Tron question.
Just that kind of row of pictures of the cast, it just kind of screams like, production stills, like we're trying to get this out into the ether and get it promoted. But
they did, for people that love your technology and models and miniatures and kits and all that, and your Star Wars and Star Trek, I will say the motion picture, spend a lot of time showing off the Enterprise in gory detail, like here's the big new Enterprise and the slow panning camera. They definitely like that. All looks spectacular. It's spectacularly boring, but it is spectacular.
And look, I will often make fun of the motion picture for its pace and that type of drawn out, but you can't deny it. Like, it is a beautiful looking picture, and
For sure.
they did spend a lot of money to get everything looking the way they did. But by
I like in the
God,
other films when they got the maroon uniforms. When I see that, I'm like, that's a Star Trek movie. They got the maroon.
yes, yeah,
When I see the original one, I'm like, what's he wearing? Something from the kitchen or the bloody slop house? What are they wearing? They're weird clothes.
yeah. Even though the motion picture, the first movie, it's my favorite poster of all the movies, but it's not my favorite of the movies. I would say Rata-Khan and Search for Spock are my two favorite Star Trek movies. So number 2 and number
Yeah, they're
3,
awesome. Yeah.
my two top
I
ones.
know why it is, why it bothers me so much that casting these silly outfits. It's because of that Seinfeld bit. It's like, I'm pretty sure it was Seinfeld. It's like, with humanity, they're in the future, we got it all together, and then we run into the aliens. We're wearing the colors. We're on the same team. It doesn't feel like these people are on the same team. That's my problem with it.
And not to veer too much off topic, but I do believe Star Trek: The Motion Picture was originally supposed to be acting as a lead-in for a new Star Trek series, which was going to be called Star Trek Phase 2. And apparently this was a way of, or originally the Star Trek motion picture was going to be a way of kind of introducing some new Star Trek characters into the fold, like that dude from Seventh Heaven and stuff that's in the movie. He was going to be Captain Decker. There were plans for his character to have his own like spin-off TV show, but it never came to be, and they just kept on going with the original crew. Thankfully, they did not make the mistake of a lifetime there with Star Trek Phase 2.
Yeah,
Which, of course, they did do The Next Generation, but that's something good.
I'll be watching this sometime this year because I'm going to pick up the box set of the sets. They got the first 6, or sometimes it's got the first 9 films, which is like the 3 Next Generation films or whatever afterwards. I've got to pick that up while it's still around and in print. And unfortunately, the Blu-ray set's real expensive, so I'm just going to get the DVD set. Because I did get the original show DVD set last year, so now I'm getting the movie set. They've had combined sets, but it was like you can get like $100 set, or it's like $300, and I'm like, no, I can buy the 2 smaller sets, a much better price. The bloody microphone. So I've chucked in some Hitchcock. Yeah, and I didn't pick any particular one. Like, I don't have a favorite Hitchcock poster. And I don't remember the name of the guy who does the Vertigo designs and all that cool stuff, who worked on various Hitchcock films and a lot of other films, doing all these cool, really cool graphic designs that have been, copied relentlessly over the years. But I always like most Hitchcock films, right from earlier stuff like bloody Rope and the Ladder one, or whatever the hell it is. I forget the names because I always think of like the character or the events. I forget the names of half his films. And then he remade a lot of his own films as well. It gets confusing. But you've always got these elements of something going on. There's a mystery, or there's some action or danger. We've got birds. We've got this bloody plane, North by Northwest. If you haven't seen the film, it's probably not telling you a lot. But for anyone who's watched it, you instantly, that's the most iconic scene in the film. Cary Grant running away from this crop duster plane that's firing a bloody machine gun at him.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the movie, you probably wouldn't even know that was happening exactly in what's being portrayed.
I would even say it's not a good poster because of the weird janky perspective where he's like a giant in front of this plane. But as far as like the action of it, it's like, it's definitely memorable, very memorable scene. I love the birds. I do love
the birds. Fantastic. It's they made the right call with that type of poster as well. You know exactly what you're kind of getting into.
You got a pretty lady getting attacked by birds. You're going to be scared, and there'll be nice ladies there.
Vertigo one. It's a fantastic poster, but it's probably like in a way a risk to take as a
it's very artsy. It's very artsy. Like that designer did loads of stuff like this that became very popular, influential. But if you're just the average cinema going, you're looking at this going, what the hell am I looking at?
Yeah, you're getting that doodle. You get the French art house vibes off it,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, definitely
Still
European
iconic
look.
though, very iconic.
I love
And
the
yeah, I suppose. Sorry.
I love the lift out quotes on the birds one. You got Hitchcock on the left, a picture of him, and he's going, and remember, the next scream you hear may be your own. And it's like it's very much that old school thing of like promoting the film. This like every film, if it's a horror thing, everyone's promising it's going to be scarier than what you saw last year, and you might faint in the cinema, you might have a shock, and all these things. And then at
Yeah,
the
he's
top,
even
it's got
signed
it could
it.
be the most terrifying motion picture I have ever made.
Yes, getting the stamp of approval there. Yeah, I love watching the old trailers when Hitchcock himself will actually come on and introduce what you're about to
Yeah.
watch. That's pretty cool.
And I was reading up a thing on the birds last year, and at least some kernel of the idea of the film was based in reality. There was an actual event of actual bird attacks in the US, but the birds weren't they weren't trying to hurt people, but they had some kind of outbreak, not like the film outbreak, but not entirely different. Some kind of like thing that got into their system, I think from the water, either they drank it or they ate it, and it basically fucked up their brains and made them mad, and they started actually attacking people.
Interesting.
It's like a bird being on LSD or something, it's messed up its whole brain and nervous system, so they don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah, because in the if I recall, because it's been many, many years
Yeah,
since I watched the movie, you never, within the context of the story of the movie, find out the reason why
yeah.
they are after her and why they're acting the way they're acting. Am I correct in saying that? Like it's always kind of left open
You
ended
don't
as to
really know,
what's.
and because it's better not to know, because it's meant to be that
Yeah,
kind of mystery and horror element. If you give too much away, that kind of ruins the film.
yeah, fantastic movie. The three of these movies are fantastic.
Yeah. So now we're on to some Planet of the Apes, which has probably the most amount of alternative and cool poster designs of anything we're looking at.
Yeah, we're going ape here on the show at the moment. Yeah, and look, any one of these really you could go for as just being like an excellent poster. Like they're all very very striking. Once again, though, you gotta look at these Japanese versions and kind of think to
Yeah,
yourself, wow, they really went all out. Like in that one, you can even see like in the center they have like the crashed space shuttle in the ocean.
yeah,
They've included so much in the poster. It's amazing. It's amazing. I think once you watch a lot of these films and then go back and look at the poster, it almost adds to the experience of looking at the poster
yeah.
because all of a sudden you're identifying individual moments from within the movie.
I'm gonna
But
watch
there's
these
some
all
really
again
nice
this year,
ones.
the original ones.
Oh, they're so good. They're
I got
so
the
good.
Blu-ray combo set. I think what was it, like 5 original films or whatever. I picked it up about 10 years ago for like, it was brand new, and it was like 40-50 bucks for like all 5 films. And at the time, I'd never seen them. I'd only seen the first one, so I had a weekend where I just watched all 5 like back to back, and it was so good.
I love it's like the second last one here at the bottom. It's like a promotional one for 20th
Yeah,
Century Fox, obviously doing a run of the movies. It's like go away, and it's
yeah,
got
from the
Planet of
old
the
Uncle
Apes,
Sam poster.
like Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Battle
And
for
on
the
the
Planet of
bottom
the
bottom
Apes,
right, there's another Japanese one, like a vertical one with more kind of silhouettes and cool stuff.
and yeah, they didn't mind depicting imagery of violence and stuff because you see like
Yeah,
Heston's all like
it's
chained up
very
and he's got the
pulp style again. I picked up a book earlier this year that's all vintage pulp art from like magazines and comic covers, and it's all like salacious stuff and ladies and bondage and things happening, and there's bloody Nazis and all kinds of stuff and things you won't see on posters anymore for good reason. But all this kind of stuff, like that artwork in the middle there, where he's got the bloody thing around his neck, and it's all this kind of stuff. It's not all violent. Some of it's like detective and neo noir and other things, but it's all this kind of style art. It was just an awesome book to pick up.
and unlike some of the later DVD and Blu-ray releases of the movie, they don't actually give away a major plot point in any of these posters by showing just like the end of the movie, which a lot of the more recent ones always show like just the final scene of the movie as the poster.
Yeah, it's just stupid to do.
But they keep your imagination guessing. Like I think if I saw that big yellow one with the cage at the end, I'd be like, what the hell is this movie about? Like I really need to watch this.
Is that a sequel to Mad Max? Is this more Thunderdome? Like they're going to be caves? I reckon these will look cool. How cool would it look for you? Like, I'm out of space, but if I could go to sleep and just look at the ceiling, I look up and that was the ceiling, just all these posters. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that could end up being the next step because I've pretty much ran out of wall space, so I can't really get any good posters or frame pictures up. I might have to start sticking it to the ceiling.
That or you have to pay someone to actually paint the ceiling, but paint it as an illustration of one of these posters. Or get the one with the Go Ape just like pointing at you and giving you nightmares. Like,
get a real professional artist to do you like a mural of all your favorite film
awesome.
and TV stuff together. Yeah, that's my like lotto money dream. You have like a big mansion with a Sistine Chapel type roof,
Robocops and Terminators and apes.
Yeah,
Robo apes and Terminator Hestons.
Yeah, I love like Heston just like expression in every one of the pictures. It's the same. It's like
he's so good in this film. He's so good. He's like I like him in most stuff, even though he's like he's got a pretty I don't know. He's a reasonable actor, but he seems like some movies he's really good, and other movies are just bad movies, I guess. Like the ones where he's dressed up like a Mexican and stuff. But like in the X movies, this movie's awesome. Just love him. He's perfect. There's no one else I would cast in this film over him.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, great movie. Great bunch of marketing material putting out with it. And it's another one when we were mentioned there just a few minutes ago with the Alfred Hitchcock, you'd often see if you watch the old Planet of the Apes trailers for the original movie, it will have like the director and loads of the people who actually worked on the movie actually telling you, you're going to be blown out of your mind by these special effects and all this stuff. Like I love that type of old promotion of just, get the people in the door of the cinema,
Another special effect, old Heston, he's pretty fit in that film. No bloody steroids or no other nonsense going on there. No HGH.
Oh yeah, he was getting his cardio in for that movie.
Yeah. So and then we've got here. I wanted to get something of the Western era, but this is your neo-Western, of course, or spaghetti Western, a fistful of dollars with a man with no name, and I chucked on the left side, of course, is inspiration, the Yojimbo.
Fantastic posters, and yeah, you could have went for really any of that spaghetti Western trilogy of Clint posters. Yeah. They're all fantastic. I love the spaghetti, whatever you want to call them, spaghetti Westerns, dollars trilogy, whatever, phraseology you want to use to describe them. They're all so good. I just it's hard to even describe. I suppose they are of a similar ilk to something like the Bond and the Planet of the Apes posters, but there is something that kind of stands out a bit.
Yeah, they got that grindhouse aesthetic going on.
Yes. There's a lot of I love a lot of this verbiage here as well. Introducing the man with no name. He's going to trigger a whole new style and adventure. This man with no name is played by Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, and it's not explicit really in the film poster until you watch it, but he's not. We don't know if he's heroic or a villain, but it's very easily leaning more towards being a bad guy sort of pose and style.
And it's the I will just want to say one thing, even though I absolutely love the spaghetti Westerns. As a child, though, I was eternally confused, because they are linked to each other, but they're also not like canonically connected.
No, they're just kind of like, it's like standalone films really with the same character, or it's like old stories where you got just telling or retelling a story about some iconic character having a different adventure. It's not necessarily related to the other films.
Like when I was a kid, and so I watched them in order, and I watched, for a few dollars more, which is the second movie, and Lee Van Cleef is in that movie, but he's a good guy, and he ends up working with Clint. And then when I started watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I was getting really confused because I was waiting for Lee Van Cleef and Clint to meet up, and I thought they were going to team up, but no, he's not a good guy at all in that movie. You know, it's just, you might even say he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing I think we could probably do a good show or shows on is the spaghetti westerns. We could definitely do
Yeah. You got like
a deep
Django
dive.
and all kinds of other cool dudes and
I like
Franco
this one
Nero.
at the final picture here. Is that supposed to be like a government bond or something, or like a
Yeah, I've
dollar?
not seen it, but it's got the stamps and all that, so it's like money or a bond with the serial numbers.
That's really cool. Like that's a really cool idea for a poster. It just looks really, really nice. But like I was saying, you could have picked any of them, like because for a few dollars more on The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, they're very similar in the style of poster, but they're also brilliant as well. And of
Yeah, they
course,
did
as you
this.
mentioned,
Some of the re-releases on DVD and Blu-ray, you get some of that nice artwork too, where they really show it off. Another random Western one. I just picked one because there's thousands of Western posters. There's so many decades of Westerns. I just wanted something else from that. Well, that's a neo-Western, something classical Western. We've got John Wayne, Robert Mitchum, and Howard Hawks' El Dorado, which
really
is a
nice.
film so good he made it twice.
Yeah, beautiful picture, though I have to say. I actually love the coloring of the sky here. It actually reminds me of Brave Star. Just the coloring, but yeah, unbelievable. Like some of these John Wayne, and like you once again, like you said, you could have picked any one of them from this
Yeah,
era. He's so many class posters. I love looking at these like landscape um designs for the movie posters as well. I can imagine walking into a cinema and just seeing that on the wall and being really, really impressed and probably pretty keen to watch the movie.
it's easy to lose track of how many different bloody scopes and visions and colors and stuff back then because they're always advertising the latest gimmick and thing. But certain films, particularly westerns, would be on a certain format and widescreen and all that, or different lens, and they'd really show off those beautiful landscapes and sunsets. And so some of these films are real ordinary, kind of almost TV-ish looking, and other ones are like real stunning masterpieces if you see in the big full widescreen format.
And you know what? The sad thing is, though, with a lot of these, with pretty much nearly all the examples we've
Yeah,
looked at today, like there's probably an entire industry gone now because you
yep,
don't hire artists anymore to do this type of stuff. You just fucking get like an AI
yeah,
generator to like take some faces and just blob them beside each other. You do your little pyramid of you've got
like
the main
terrible art.
star and then the two co-stars underneath them, and that seems to be every movie poster now.
Starring
That's
Tom
just how
Hardy
they.
and Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy.
Yeah, exactly. But look, we're back to kind of simplicity here. For me, I just love this Batman '89. It's the Batman logo. It's that iconic logo that we all know, and just like Jurassic Park, as we mentioned earlier, it is classic iconography. I am oh, beautiful, beautiful Lego bats. I
And he's a
had
torch.
this. Oh, he's a torch too. That's handy.
Don't know why
This,
for the
this
label's a
Batman,
torch.
this Batman poster I had on in my room for years, and I'd always read the names in the small print, and I'd always laugh at the names Sam Ham and Warren Scarron because they rhymed. Those are I just got a
Yeah,
kick out of that.
and that Sam Hamm did a comic too in that and around that same era, not of the movie, but not just a Batman comic at the time.
So I think it's probably fair to say that most of the people watching now, they're all familiar with that classic Batman '89 poster. That's just
It
purely
was
the logo.
everywhere. It was everywhere. It was massive. It was one of the biggest viral marketing campaigns in like 10 or 20 years. The symbol was everywhere. It was madness.
There's a couple of the examples here that people may not be as familiar with. This kind of main image you have here at the stop with Batman and the Batmobile, is that from like a
Yeah,
promotional still, or?
yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, that would have been shot at a big high resolution and then shrunk down and chucked on everything from bloody, I don't know, lunchbox covers and trading cards and T-shirts. And I had the big wide poster of this as a kid on my wall for a number of years. I got for a birthday or something. And yeah, they did that. You can even Google like Batman '89 production photography or something like that, and you can see the other images. Like the one down the bottom there is kind of in the film, but it's similar again too, where it's just like they've removed all the background, they've lit him in a way you can just see him because he's almost invisible with this black car and a black suit.
One you have at the top here is pretty cool as well, with its tagline, "Only one will claim the night. Justice
Yeah.
is always darkest before the dawn."
And you've got that
That's a
like,
cool
and
tagline.
you've got him with the little extra. When I was a kid, that little extra point on the bat symbol in the actual movie, it always annoyed me because I look at the comic and go,
Yeah,
"That's not right. That's not right."
not the same. It is not the same thing.
It's just like
And of
aesthetically not as pleasing. It's not. It's still. Yeah, it is asymmetrical because it's not quite symmetrical anymore with those little extra bits.
yeah, it just sticks out. It just sticks out. You do notice it straight away. I have to say, I love the cover here for the graphic novel as well of the movie
Yeah.
adaptation.
Have you read that
Really,
back
really
then? Like
nice.
I've read my friend's one. I've never owned it, but I have read it.
I actually I picked up a re-release, like a trade paperback
Uh-huh.
re-release of it last year, and I read it. Really good, really fun. The Batman movie is just good fun anyway, so reading a comic adaptation of it
Mm.
is,
And it
it's
has a
exactly what it
nice
says in the tin.
original edition. Had a glossy kind of like photo cover, not photo, but like photo glossy looking paper, and it was a thicker card stock rather than a crappy comic. Whereas I had the Ninja Turtles movie adaptation. That was just a regular Archie comic that was thicker on newsprint, and there was no special cover or nothing. The DC, even back then, was the beginning when they started to do all their Batman one shots, Batman Elseworlds, prestige format books on glossier paper and like thick cardstock. So they would stand up to being read and look good on your shelf, and they were bit more fancy.
I believe the final image here, I'm guessing, is from a Blu-ray or a modernish
Yeah, one of those things.
release.
There's heaps of images like they're at now. They're just kind of reworkings of the elements, and you can tell straight away from the kind of high definition colors and elements that it's like a modern computery sort of image, but it still looks nice.
It still looks really nice, and I do appreciate people taking the time to do stuff like this because it keeps the media alive, and it also gives people
Mm.
like me nice like wallpapers and backgrounds for their
Yeah,
computers and stuff like. So I'll always appreciate that. But yeah, I know, just like to touch again briefly on that original poster, like it's genius marketing. It's just the logo, it's
and
right
it used the
there.
gold as well, rather than in the film we've got the yellow, but that's distinctly gold colored background as well.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good, and it's what keeps that logo up there with like the Superman S and the JP logo and the
Yeah,
Star Wars and all those other things that we know as being iconic.
it's
It's just when
mm.
you hit it good.
And the word Batman on that font is just a very plain font. However, it is one they did use on the comics for a number of times as well. So there's is another
Yeah,
element from the comics.
it's genius in its simplicity. That's what I'll say about
Yeah,
the Batman poster.
like the old John Carpenter fonts.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Yeah, sometimes a certain font can be like really basic, but it's so strongly associated with a particular movie or thing. That's the thing you think of, and it makes it more special, even if it's kind of plain.
Yeah. Oh, it's iconic, and it's I kind of mentioned it to you before we started recording, but when we first were kind of discussing movie posters and whatnot, I just quickly, I think it was like 6 or 7 examples I
Yeah,
threw you. I am
I,
sure,
I
I
do
have
the
no
same
doubt,
thing. I just like, what's the first things I think of?
we could easily revisit this with different examples, and I'm sure like
Yeah,
that there'll be many people listening in or watching today that will have their own individual examples of what they think are great posters. And I even tried to because there's probably a few obvious ones that people were expecting me to trot out, like, oh, I'm surprised you didn't mention Alien, or I'm surprised you didn't mention at least one of the Star Wars or whatever. But like, we know these are great posters. They're out there if you want to Google them,
Yeah.
have a look at them, and just tell us your own favorites, you know, because it's not really just about ours. Like, we would love to hear what you
Yeah,
guys think.
tell us your favorites. But if you need more Alien stuff, we've done about 14 hours of stuff of Alien British last year.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So there's plenty of stuff out there, but and you know, maybe I'm getting it wrong, or maybe somebody will disagree with me and say, well, you know what, Boba Hicks, I think modern posters are better than these old posters you were looking at today, and I'm going to give you an example of one right now. But that's not going to happen, is it? Because your posters are shit.
There's a lot of shit posters, but sometimes it's like the movie studios want something that's shit. Like, you might have someone who's a very good graphic designer or a good photographer, whatever, who makes something really nice, and the studio's like, no, we're going in this direction. We're making something shit. There's no shortage of actual talented people who can make really nice, great stuff around now. Because you see it on like bloody DeviantArt or Etsy and places where people are doing their own thing, where it's, you know, doing whatever they want. There's lots of cool, great art and designs around, but you're just not seeing them used very much for the good modern movies. You're seeing a lot of bland stuff being used.
Yeah, it really is. It's a dying art in a lot of ways, and
well, especially
you know,
if once you've got to the stage where everything's gone digital, I mean, there's lots of benefits to that, but if someone has no background in photography, no background in filmmaking, and actually being on a physical place and location and learning about real world lighting, not digital synthetic lighting, and composing all the elements of an image, if you've got all that stuff as a skill, you can always add digital in very easily. Whereas if you've only ever known digital, to go and add all that other stuff in it, it's not easy. All those are separate disciplines, and most of the old school people had combinations of all those things, and then have added digital on after the fact for the older ones. But for younger folks coming in, unless they start doing their own photography and other stuff, you're not learning those other disciplines. Because if you have all those skills, then you can combine different elements into a really effective, good poster or good design.
you know, someday, I don't know. I was going to say maybe someday we'll see a little bit of a reemergence, but unless the kind of focus changes, like you mentioned, like it is like we are in a primarily digital age now.
Yeah,
They're
well,
not really
cinema's
trying
been
to,
dying. Everything's on
yeah,
streaming and smaller screens, so we don't get to see posters anymore. And I used to love walking down Hoyt's 8 in Christchurch, right, where I saw Jurassic Park in 1994 twice, and Wayne's World 2, and like hundreds of other films. There was it was 8 cinemas, and as you'd walk down, the whole aisle was just full of poster like, stuff coming for the next 6-12 months. And every time I would stop and look at like any different poster, or even if it was some piece of crap I didn't care about, I'll just stop and look at them. And now that's just gone. I just don't really see that. I mean, there's still movie cinemas around. They still do have posters and that, but it's not the same. There's not a whole lot of really cool classic new wave directors from the 70s making awesome artwork, or other people. There's not, or some revival house that's showing classic movies where I can go and see these cool movies and cool posters again.
yeah. I can't even remember the last time I would have seen a movie advertisement on like a billboard or something like that. You used to
Yeah,
just see it everywhere, and
yeah.
it's all kind of gone now.
Matrix. When Matrix came out, it was, "What is the Matrix?" That was the tagline everywhere.
Yes.
Just the teaser.
But yeah, no, definitely we could, like I said, we could easily revisit this with different examples again in the future. But definitely, folks, let us know. Did you largely agree with ones we selected? Did you think our selections sucked? Do you have any other ones you want to throw our way? We're all ears here.
I expect the
We
top
just want to
10
hear.
posters from Gojitron. That's what I expect in the comments.
Yeah,
Top 10
I want
Godzilla
an
posters.
itemized. Yeah, fuck top 10. I want a top 20. Drop and
Top
give me
20, top
20.
30. Counting down the #1 Godzilla poster hits of the decade.
And I know neither of us did select Godzilla, but I was actually, when I was flicking through my my book of sci-fi posters, I have to say there's a lot of beautiful Godzilla
Destroy
posters
All
from those
Monsters or
old
whatever it
movies.
is, the one that's got all of
Yeah,
them in it from back in the that one's just got every bloody monster. I have a crappy fold-up one on the thing next to me. That's a beautiful one.
yeah, some real nice stuff going on there.
But yeah, we don't have a topic set for next week, but I'm going to throw it out to Mark here now. And I'm thinking let's maybe do a comic booky topic. Pick a book or a story or a character or comic book covers or whatever. Whatever we come up with, I'm thinking that might be something to go with for next week.
Yep, that sounds good to me. I'm already liking a few of those things, those words you just mentioned there.
Mm-hmm.
Comic
Well, you
book
mentioned
covers
last
or
year about
comic book
comic book stuff,
characters.
and we're both obviously read comics and things, but rarely have we done a show where we talked about it. So I thought we might as well.
Yeah, sounds good. So now you know, folks, there's something comic related coming your way next week. As long as another storm doesn't hit me in the meantime, and as long
Yeah,
as Johnny doesn't spontaneously combust from the heat, everything
I'll
should
just
be fine.
burst. My head will explode like in Scanners.
Yeah. Scuddors. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, well, we'll finish up there and catch you people next time.
Take care, folks.